Cupid. Everyone knows about them, the winged angels of love. Those who are hit by Cupid's arrows of love will fall for whoever they are with or see. But for Okuto, he had developed a situation with the Cupid that appeared in front of him suddenly. Okuto was backed against a wall, both from fear and shock, unsure of what was happening. The Cupid landed on the ground and marched towards him with a determined strut. Getting right up in Okuto's face, the Cupid announced that she's here to help him fall in love, but there was a problem. He had already fallen in love, and it was with the Cupid. The next day, Okuto arrived at the local park and looked around. All he could see was everyday people playing and spending their time together. However, he was here to be on a date with Cupid, and started to doubt if it was even real and if she would even really show up. As he began to panic more, he heard Cupid's voice calling out to him. Okuto thought about how she really did come to their date, while the Cupid apologized for being late. As the Cupid told Okuto that they should head off now, he was struck again by how beautiful she was. Then we are introduced to Frill, the Cupid, who is also going on a date with Okuto. Her job here is to help people fall in love, and her job right now is to help Okuto. But once her work is finished, all memories of her will vanish. Okuto was panicking over Frill's wings, but she calmed him by explaining that he's the only one that can see them for now. Cupids can tell when people are in love and help them, but Okuto feels awkward since he's trying to hide his feelings because his situation is awkward. His awkward situation is that he loves Frill so much. As he thought this, Frill led the charge on their date. Okuto had never been in love, have a crush or anything, but despite that, and the impossibility of his love for Frill, he wanted to tell her. As he contemplated this, Frill called him out on it, not knowing the exact details, but Okuto refused to admit that she was right. Frill asked why he won't tell her. She needs to know who he likes in order to help him. As Okuto realized how close she was to realizing that it was her he liked, Frill ran off to ask people about who Okuto liked without him, causing him to panic. As Okuto realized how loud Frill was, he came to a conclusion. If she will be this way and not listen, then he will just have to confess to her during his date. Trying to change the topic, Okuto mentioned that there was a lot of couples in the park right now. Frill admitted that there was, and it was important for Okuto to see them so he can understand the importance of love and so he can gain confidence on this practice date. Okuto then comforted himself, saying despite it being a practice date, he still has a chance with Frill. Thinking to himself, he questioned what they should do for their date. However, he accidentally finished the sentence out loud, startling Frill. She looked around for the best way to start the date, using the crowds of couples for her examples. Frill then asked to hold Okuto's hand, which caused him to blush and stutter, trying to refuse. But Frill ignored him and began commenting on the flowers nearby. Grabbing Okuto's hand, Frill dragged him to see the flowers. Okuto was taken off guard by the pleasant surprise that was Frill's hand. As Frill pulled Okuto along, he contemplated, while blushing, that this was his first time that he held a girl's hand, and it happened to be his crush's hand. Looking back with a slight blush on her cheeks, Frill commented in a questioning tone that holding hands feels natural, right? Frill turned to face Okuto, who was clutching his hand and internally vowing to never clean it. After snapping out of his trance, Frill told Okuto that he should practice holding hands now, as practice makes perfect. Building up the courage, Okuto repeated what Frill said and did, grabbing her hand at a full sprint. At a dead sprint, Okuto yelled for Frill to see some flowers while also holding her hand. But despite the awkwardness, Okuto did it, and Frill went to compliment it. Frill told Okuto that he did so well, but he did yell really loudly. Okuto, whose head was on fire from embarrassment, asked if Frill was okay. After Frill encouraged him some more, Okuto realized that this might be the best way of warming himself into Frill's heart. He looked around for some more flowers to see, since he believed it was the best reason to hold Frill's hand. Okuto spotted some flowers and dragged Frill to go and look at them. However, every time they got to some, he immediately looked for more and dragged Frill off again and again. Okuto dragged Frill from flowerbed to flowerbed while mentioning that the park had so many beautiful flowers. Frill, however, was being dazed due to all the yanking. Reaching her limit, Frill yelled Okuto's name, who stopped in his tracks when he heard her calling out to him. Frill figured out what Okuto was doing and told him that he didn't need an excuse of flowers to hold her hand. Frill added that if his partner didn't mind, he didn't have to stop holding hands as they walked. Seeing Frill's sweet expression struck a chord in Okuto's heart, causing him to question his own feelings. As Frill and Okuto walked hand in hand, they thought about what they should do. Okuto realized that he can't let this chance pass him by and began stuttering an answer, drawing in Frill's attention. Okuto's recommendation was a gebedon, which actually stunned Frill for once and caused her to repeat what he had said. Okuto tried to casually explain it away, slightly weirding out Frill, but she accepted his idea in the end. Blushing, Frill gave it her all and told Okuto that if it will help him, she'll do it. However, she was the reddest Okuto had ever seen, and he questioned if she really was okay with this. Okuto then believed that Frill will do anything he asks, so he needs to make the most of it, and he started by looking for some more ideas, along with a technique video for Gebedon. After a quick search, Okuto rattled off a list of things that he wanted to do with Frill, all romantic and all surprising her, keeping the blush on her face going strong. Heading to a wall, Okuto said that they will do the Gebedon first. Once in position, Okuto began to perform the Gebedon, but noticed something as he started. He had noticed too late that Frill's wings were in the way, and he was unsure of what to do since he was falling towards her. Realizing that he had to commit to the Gebedon, he looked around and concluded that there was only one way through this without hurting Frill, and that was the JoJo pose. Once in position, with Frill unhurt, Okuto looked at her and saw how shy Frill had gotten as she tried to hide her face with her hands. Overwhelmed by her emotions and Okuto's closeness, she smacked him away. She apologized instantly after, explaining why, and Okuto apologized in return. While she still hid her face, she asked if Okuto wanted to go somewhere else, which he offered several choices. Frill recoiled at the number of places Okuto wanted to go, but he tried to reason with her that they can spread out the places over other dates. Frill was cautious, but Okuto reasoned that they will give him the confidence to confess. He believed that he could just drag her along from place to place, and he will confess eventually, so he's technically not lying. Frill, seeming very cautious now, asked if he really will tell her, which he promised he will. As Okuto was internally celebrating, he missed Frill's ominous words telling him that if he knew how wonderful love was, he wouldn't be hesitating like this. Okuto and Frill went on date after date, but Okuto didn't gain the confidence, but instead questioned his own choices, believing that he would fail. His mind whirled around with confidence and doubt, unable to determine the truth within himself. So, Okuto thought that he could just drag it out for now, pull Frill along until he can confess. He took advantage of her kindness, believing that she'd understand his selfishness of these dates. But as he looked happier and happier, she looked more and more doubtful. He never wanted this dream to end. He wanted the two of them to be laughing and happy for life. After their most recent date, they walked home together along the boardwalk, Okuto excited for another date tomorrow, but Frill seemed to have another thing on her mind and called out to him. Frill asked him if he was telling the truth about him saying who his crush was, or was it all just smoke and mirrors? Quick to deny it, he said that he would, of course. But Frill wasn't so sure, so she began to offer an ultimatum. Frill demanded that Okuto tell her who his crush was, as she couldn't wait any longer. Her form took on a more commanding and powerful appearance, catching Okuto off guard. Okuto questions the timing, saying that he isn't ready, but Frill counters that he's had 10 days to say anything, but he hasn't. She doesn't have the time to mess around like this, and as Okuto tries to argue this, she cuts him off, saying that he's not being reasonable with his actions or timing. Frill reiterates her ultimatum, saying that if he won't say it now, he never will, and she can't help him. He starts to confess, attempts to say the words, but it catches in his throat, choking him into silence. He tries to pep himself to say it. He planned to confess from the beginning, but how he feels right now is doubtful. And in the end, his doubt only pulled fear to the forefront, and he couldn't say it. Frill, tired of these games, spread her wings wide. She told him that she wished he had told her, but she couldn't help him, and it no longer mattered anymore. Frill took to the sky and bid farewell to Okuto, as she had failed him as much as he had failed her. Okuto tried to stop Frill, grabbing at her foot but missing, causing him to fall to the ground while she soared higher and higher. As he thought to himself that she was wrong, that she did help him, he tried to mentally confess but began to forget things. Tried to recall what he did today with Frill, but he couldn't remember it, as fragment by fragment of memories broke away into nothingness. The memories that were being sapped from him was draining, siphoning his energy to do so. As he realized that his memories were being removed, he looked back up to Frill, seeing her looking down at him with pity, as she simply told him that she had believed in him. As she grit her teeth and turned away from Okuto, Frill once again said that she had wished that he had told her the truth. Hearing a noise, Frill glanced back to see Okuto, yelling her name at the top of his lungs and running after her. He couldn't let her go so easily, and he didn't want to forget her either. Finally having the push to being honest with his feelings, Okuto confessed to his crush. He screamed to Frill that the person that he loves is her. Hearing his words, Frill was speechless, but did a yelp in surprise and turned a vibrant shade of red. Frill questioned why he was shouting his confession so loudly in public. He apologized, but reasoned that he promised to tell her his feelings. With a smile on his face, Okuto asked if Frill could help him with his feelings. Frill blushed and got a mischievous smile on her face. Laughing happily, Frill told Okuto that she wished he had told her sooner, causing Okuto to question if that was a yes. Laughing again, she told him that she'd help, which Okuto could only cheer to, as their dream of being happy together could begin today.